It's me. Leave a message at the beep.
Hey man, it's me. Call me back if you're around. Look, I got this gig doing some writing and some acting. I know, weird, right? Acting, what's that all about? But I may have overstated my resume a bit. Now, I worked with the guy before, Jack. He's awesome. You may have seen him in some unaired clips from Kimmy with It. But I told him that in terms of my, past skills with movie making, that I actually did a birth video for you guys. For both kids. And I explained they were tastefully done and they were artistic and all that. And that, if you get a call confirming, did I do that, then by all, just say yes. Just please, whatever you do, say yes. Now, to be clear, I should probably mention I didn't actually say that it was the birth videos, which, obviously is a beautiful moment in your lives, and let's just say it was that. I mean, obviously it wasn't, because I was I was the cinematographer for the conception both times, but not so much the birth. So, but just pretend that the conception, just whatever details you give him about what we actually did on the conception video, just say it was the birth video. So, great. Glad I got that out there. Okie doke, buddy. Call me back.
Welcome back, everybody. It's that time of the week, and it's actually a little bit later than that time of the week, because this week I have been busy. This week we shot a pilot of sorts for a show that Jack Talbert is hoping to shop around to networks, like specifically web networks, but really anybody. And he put a lot of money into it, and a lot of time, and a lot of effort, and a lot of talented people helped out. And so I'm going to be covering some behind the scenes and some of my thoughts on movie making and cinematography. And it's a fun journey. It's a fun, painful, exhausting journey filled with high costs and heartbreak. And maybe, just maybe, you'll learn something before we're done. So this week's podcast, let's go on to our sponsor, huh? This week's podcast is brought to you in part by hard work. How about that? How about that for a change? Not procrastination, not good enough, not half-assing it. No, it's a podcast brought to you by hard work. Even if this podcast is brought to you late by hard work, it's still a hard work nonetheless. So yeah, that's going to be great. What are we doing? Well, check it out. You'll see in the next segment. So here's what goes. So Jack Talbert and I worked together on Kimmy with It. He was my minister of information, my propaganda minister. And he's got a great natural comedic timing, good vibe, great head on his shoulders. He's more of an engineering type, but we really clicked and it went well. And a while back, a few months back, he got in touch with me and said, look, you said if I ever needed help with writing, that maybe I could call on you. And I said, great. So we had a meeting, and basically he said, I've got this script. We've done some work on it before. We're doing one last serious big push to try and sell this. We've got some producers who are interested, and we're doing it. We're spending a ton of money for a very short scene. And so I helped rewrite it. I added some jokes in. Griffen, who is in the production as well, she did some great rewriting, and she's really good at structural stuff, which is great because that's my biggest weakness when it comes to writing is, making all the pieces fit together. So today was the day. Today was the big day. 8 a.m. call. We all showed up. We had this incredible location at the corner of Mercer and whatever road it is that the EMP is on, with a view of the Space Needle out the window, which we never used, unfortunately. I got to play Andy, the main character's wife's boss, and I'm this really incredibly rich, incredibly out of touch, crazy person, really. In the scenes we shot today, the gist of me is that I don't understand poor people. If you don't have a second home, I can't wrap my head around it. If you make less than $100,000 a year, you're the kind of guy who probably lives in a crack den. I assume. I mean, I don't know anybody like that. So Jason Daniels in it. He played the general in Kimmy with It, General Kim Sibal. And Jack and Jason go back quite a ways. They've done a lot of stuff together. And I got to tell you, there are so many frustrations I have when it comes to actually producing something. My biggest frustration is how incredibly long everything takes. I mean, it takes forever. We were on set at 8. We started shooting just after 10. We'd already done our run-throughs and rehearsals and all that. And it just takes forever to get everything set up. You've got to move furniture. You've got to put everything together. And we were shooting single camera, which is very challenging in terms of keeping the timing right, but also because every time you want to do somebody else, you have to change camera angles. So you shoot everything from you shoot everything wide, but you don't shoot it once, you shoot it 3, 4, 5 times. Then you shoot everything to one side, then to the other side, then to the third side, because the cast was remarkably huge. I want to say 12 actors and a crew of 7 or 8. It was a big day, and it was so much fun. But getting that many people to fit on camera is a challenge. So then you go back and you do the close-ups, so you get specific lines that are really important in tight shots. And we were shooting with a Blackmagic cinema camera. If you go on YouTube and look up Blackmagic cinema camera 4K and look at some of the footage, it is stunning. And you can use 35 millimeter lenses. It looks so good. So the frustrations are, many. One is adding more people to the room creates not incremental problems with getting everyone to focus, but exponential problems. Because if it's not your scene, people tend to start getting chatty, and especially when it's a long day and it's so long in between. We probably only shot 8 to 10 minutes, but it was basically a minute an hour is what we got in terms of finished products. But there were some just amazing people. So let me go over some of the amazing people. There's a clip. If you're watching this, there's a clip now, and I'm going to actually roll it back a little so I can see who they all are. You've got, me, sadly. You've got, just some really talented people. And I want to give mad shout out to everybody, but I am actually going to single out one person who blew me away. Andrew Tribulani. Andrew Tribulani is a real actor who's done all kinds of background and commercial stuff. And today, he actually didn't even have a line, which was kind of funny because, he had a line, but it was cut for time. He had lines, but, we had to trim down the script. And all he got to do was background acting, and man, did he nail it. It was so good. So, yeah, that's fun. So what else sucks about shooting, making movies? Well, one thing that really chaps my ass is the heat. Oh my God, the heat. It gets so hot in a room. Because first of all, you've got, maybe 20 people in a fairly small room, plus a bunch of lights, a bunch of cameras, a bunch of normal things, and the natural heat of the room. It gets so hot. And so luckily, Laura was gracious enough to top us off with powder as needed. And the nice thing about having a crew of sufficient size is that you don't overlook those things. And the nice thing about having a cast that is experienced, like Andrew, like Jason, like Russ, and I'm not going to list all the full names because I don't know what permissions I have to talk about this yet, but I'm just giving kind of background here. The nice thing is everyone is watching everyone else for continuity and for, moving stuff around and making sure everything actually looks great. You got a hair out of place. Your ridiculous mustache is not working right. So that was a lot of fun. So what else do I want to say about it? I don't know. It was challenging. And the thing is, once you get into productions like this, two thoughts come to mind. One is, man, I really need to make something new myself, something amazing. But the second thought, which comes at the same time, is this is such a mess. It is so much work. It is so time consuming. And we spent a whole day getting one scene in one room, which is just, how do movies do it? And apparently they do it over the course of a month or 3. Now, I've seen some movies that do it in a week or less, but boy, you're really hustling to get it in that quick, especially if you're going to light things and make it work and make it look good and make it sound good. Luckily, we did have a real sound guy there. Alex was on set, running sound. A lot of people from Seattle University, I believe, who have experience, but more than that, they have technical knowledge, which is something that's been lacking on certainly a lot of my productions, certainly all of my productions except Kimmy with it, unless you go all the way back to King Me. Jason Jones did know what he was doing. He did understand a bit about not cinematography, but at least videography, and at least he had mastery of his Canon, of his awesome high 8 Canon. One thing that was nice is I did get to keep in a lot of my jokes. A lot of the jokes I'd written for the script were not cut, and that's good because those are, as it turns out, my favorite jokes. And I suspect there's some, self-selection. I'm biased. I'm not sure which form of bias it is, but I'm biased. My jokes is the best. Some of the jokes, of course, I had to explain because, they might have been layered or the timing didn't make sense, but we got them figured out. The last big hurdle before we got from pre-production to the day of was the script had to be cut pretty substantially for length. Now, I can fill a lot of pages quickly. And when it comes to dialogue is so time-consuming to shoot and, on screen because it has to go, first of all, at the pace of speech, but also there has to be, the timing allowed for comedy. You can't just crunch it down and jam through it like you would in some other mediums. But no, it's some other genres, I mean. But it was great. But in doing so, not only did Jack and Griffen have to cut some of the jokes that I liked the best, they also had to cut a lot of my lines. And I was never meant to be a central player, but I am a funny guy. And a lot of people on set appreciated my comic sensibilities. And so even though my scenes got cut down to 5 lines, there were some moments where the crowd was supposed to gasp. And in those moments, when everyone's going, what? Huh? Why? Why? Oh, that's terrible. I didn't say, oh, that's terrible. I said things like, what, do you live on a cul-de-sac? Or, sweet mother of God. So I may have gotten from 5 lines up to 8 or 10. We'll see in the final edit, which probably is going to take, I would assume, 3 to 4 weeks. But it was just exhausting. And since we're shooting with one camera, I couldn't do wildly different ad-libs on each one because then it would, goof up the, what am I going to do? Tell 3 jokes in one spot? I'd love it. But that would be a very different sort of scene. So that was kind of crazy. Now, there is a movie I saw a few years back that was, I think it was shot in 8 single takes. And boy, I tell you, if I could come up with something like that, my God, I could certainly afford to get it shot. But it requires a level of focus, I guess, I just don't have. And the fact that I've seen one only movie of this sort should tell you how difficult it is, overall. Another great advantage we had by using students, college students and film students, was that they had access to equipment that we just didn't. For a low price, we were able to get a incredible camera, incredible lighting, amazing sound. Now, I don't know, some of these people may own this equipment, but this is stuff that in previous productions we just haven't had. And it makes you realize, if this is the speed at which you can actually shoot something, even if you could shoot 22 minutes a week or 40 minutes a week of finished product, the cost is got to be incredible. I wonder what the budget is for some of the lowest cost shows. And I don't mean things like At Midnight, although that one has got to be right at the bottom because they just get some clips, pay, $100 or $300 a piece. And when it comes to a lot of it, they can just fair use, just take it that way. But they've still got to have researchers. They've still, I assume, pay their guests. They've got a crowd. They've got a space. Just a space has got to be a fortune. We had the luxury of a great space at, I believe, no cost, because one of the actors, Joel, lives in the building, and he just booked the rumpus room. So looking at all this, you got to think, man, what would it take to actually make something like this? And it makes me think, boy, if I could get onto a TV show, I'd love to do it. I would love it. But if I'm going to produce something myself, it would have to be standalone projects that I can get through and move on. Get through, move on. Because, as you've noticed, if you're a regular podcast listener, maintaining creativity week after week is really tough. And if I had a team of writers, if I had a dedicated staff, if I even had fans, it'd be different. It'd be so much different. If I was a radio host and even had a producer and call me, if I had guests, regular guests. When I have guests, my God, it's so easy, but I don't. Now, I could work a little harder to acquire guests, and I assume in the end it would be about the same amount of work, but it brings us back to the question of why. And the answer is, I don't know why. I don't know why, and that's why I'm shifting my focus.
Okay.
That's why I'm shifting my focus as we get towards the new year.
Yeah, cool. So on action.
At the end of the show, I'll give you an update on how listenership and viewership is going and what's coming up in the next month and beyond. But for now,
We're
I
gonna
guess,
start from,
for those of you watching, you get to see some really fun behind-the-scenes footage
I am
from
Jason, and everyone just say hi.
today's production. And for those of you listening, you get to kind of hear it a little in the background, sort
My older
of,
brother
which is,
always
that's
taking care of me. He
also,
told me to run when they want us.
how do you go wrong with that?
You're gonna wanna, sandbag on that side. And then sandbag on that side too? Copy.
And,
But what's
I
really
assume-
great is the payoff. You do all the setup, you do all the scenes, you do it all the way through, and then you get to the big scene. And Jason Daniel, to his credit, he has worked so hard. He did Monologue a Day last year, and I don't think he made it quite through the whole year, but it refined his craft. It made him work quickly and smart, and it gave him opportunity to reflect and look at past works and build on them. And so you get scenes like this, where he gets a special shot that was written just for him, and you get a crew that knows how to light it, knows how to shoot it, has the right equipment, and the payoff is just so good. And then you got the rest of the scene, and I can't wait to show you the finished product, because my God, it is just so clever. At some point here, I'm going to try and bump up the sound so you can get a vague idea of just how intense Jason Daniel can be. But my God, Jason, if you're watching this, man, you're just awesome.
Okay, alright, great.
Good to light up today.
Yeah, sorry about that mistake, everybody. Thank you for bearing with us. Let's do it. Sound.
Zoom 61, speeding.
Camera speeds.
For hotel, take 2, soft dish sticks, mark.
Set.
Action.
Hi, I'm Jason.
Hi, Jason.
I'm haunted by the screams. My family, they were murdered right in front of me in the killing fields. You know what that's like? You know what it's like? My brother, he reached out and he said to run. He said, Jason, run!
Jason, I'm gonna pump the brakes and slow your roll a little bit.
Cut.
Cool, that was great.
Awesome. Let's do another
Do
take.
one more. Excellent.
Good job with the lighting.
So before we go into our outro, I want to give a big thanks to the entire cast and crew. The crew would be Alex on camera, Alex on sound, Zach on PA or AD, I'm not sure, Kirsten, Edward as the director, and the entire cast. That would be Anna Lee White, the other white meat, because I'm apparently the primary white meat. And I found this out just after lunch. Apparently, she's my mistress. Ah, nice. Nice. Jack was like, didn't you look at the script that you co-wrote? And I was like, yes, I did. But all these names are so generic. There's a cast of millions, and I didn't know I was playing Andy. Thanks to more of the cast, Griffen, to, let's see, Sasha, and Chip, Jason, Laura, Russ, Andy, and Joel. My gosh, you guys are so great. And the two girls, my children, apparently, in the script. There's two kids you may have, if you're watching this, there are two kids you've seen. They're apparently my children. Now, at one point, Laura, their actual mom, scolded them and said, hey, you gotta keep it down out there. And I was like, don't you talk to my children that way. And we all had a good laugh. And of course, thanks to Jack for making this whole damn thing happen. This was so much fun, and it's just great. The writing is great, and I don't say that to edify myself because I wrote very little of it. I added jokes, is what I did. It's just a great production, and I sure as hell hope something comes of this because this team is so talented and so wonderful. So guys, come what may, I love you and thank you. Well, guys, that's it. That's the end of the podcast. This has been the 1121 Glossy News 4K podcast news review and all that other crazy shit. This is podcast 70. 70? Are you kidding me? I barely know her. Not sure I know how jokes work. Special thanks, of course, to Greg the Hero, who does all the segment bumpers and backing music, although there really hasn't been any. He did one bumper on this one. Thanks to Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com for the intro and outro music. Check me out on social media. glossynews.com/podcast has all the links you need to Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, Libsyn's, iTunes, ya names it. It's there. Unless you named Snapchat, Instagram, or the now defunct, what's that video one? Vine. Yeah, I was never on that. I got interested. It was canceled. Done. Fair enough. So special thanks to Jack Talbert for this episode. Rules for Dudes is, I believe, the title that is going to be used. I hope I can show you so much more of it in the future. I did say that I would tell you what's coming up in the future. The Christmas project has likely been scaled back a bit, mostly because it's so late in November and we're so far behind schedule. And if I'm going to make them, I've got to make them right. But that's okay because it'll still be a full episode. It'll still be a full podcast. It'll still be a bunch of great stuff. So there you go. And yeah, no jokes this week. No movie reviews because this isn't a movie. No fun facts about history. No crazy mom stuff. Just great content. You guys, check me out next week. And my friends, I hope to talk to you soon. All right, there we go.